is a time for broadening horizons. Our next guest found it life-changing, forging friendships that reshaped their entire worldview.
Derek Black went from being a prominent white nationalist figure to fighting racism and now publicly coming out as transgender in their new memoir. And I got a chance to sit down with Derek to discuss their remarkable journey and more. So let's get right to it, starting with the title. The Klansman's Son, My Journey from White Nationalism to Anti-Racism.
It's a title that I struggled with at first because it felt sort of shameful, and it was something that I've been running away from for a lot of my life.
Derek Black grew up as the son of a former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, Don Black, and says they were once viewed as the heir to the white nationalist movement. That's until Derek had a change of heart.
What was the turning point? I mean, can you be the son of a former Grand Wizard, the godson of David Duke, and the next day you're anti-racist?
Yeah, it wasn't one day. It was years to get to leaving their belief system.
And it's one thing to call home and say, Dad, I don't agree with your beliefs anymore. But to tell him that you're transgender now, how did he take that?
That is a one that I think are still working through. It's one also that I have gotten some of the most cruel messages from my family about.
In response to Derek's comments, Don Black told ABC News that Derek was never forced to do anything and finds their coming out as transgender to be over the top, but, quote, hopes one day Derek comes back to them. It would be at New College of Florida where Derek would find family in a diverse community of friends. In the group, Derek would also meet the love of their life, wife Allison.
She was the person who really changed things. I showed up at college, and I was there for a semester before people knew my background. And when they did find out, I realized that these relationships had become so deep and so intense, and these people had every right to feel betrayed. That just made me really look at oh, who am I?
The journey takes us back to when Derek first hit the public scene as a young rising white nationalist.
Do you have the iPad?
What is it? Oh my gosh.
I'm sending a message to be proud of your history and your ancestry, just to be proud of all the things that your ancestors have done.
That is 10-year-old Derek appearing on the Jenny Jones Show in 1999, along with their father, to discuss their white nationalist website.
I've designed the website for white children.
So when you see that, what do you remember about that day? What do you remember about that little boy?
I remember that viscerally, and that was why I wasn't able to watch that for a long time. I knew it was the moment that felt like it defined everything I had to be.
Why did you want to write the book, and why now?
The reason I was ready to write it was because I wanted to share what I knew, that this wasn't just a story of a few random people who made weird choices. They grew up in the civil rights movement, and they joined the other side.
Change has come to America.
You also write on page 87, that November, a few days after Obama won his first presidential election, David called me the heir at his 2008 conference in Memphis. Have you spoken with David?
No, not in years. He was a really close family friend. It was a complicated relationship, though, and was really based in politics, and we really have not maintained that relationship.
Following the release of Derek's memoir, former state representative David Duke stated he believes in equal rights and refuted ever calling Derek an heir.
And on page 272, you wrote, in Charlottesville, led by people I knew, with anti-racist friends in the crowd opposing them, I felt horrified and implicated.
It was just this feeling of I do not know what the future holds. Watching also the president at the time argue that there were very good people on both sides, and I think January 6th had a lot of echoes of Charlottesville and a lot of the same people in both of them.
You feel like that movement has picked up speed, especially after the January 6th insurrection?
Yeah, more so than I've ever seen, not because they have millions of people. They recognize that power and the support they have.
As readers dive into the book, Derek wants them to remember one thing: change is possible.
People can 100% change very fundamental things about their beliefs, their world, who they see themselves as. Everything really is just about your relationships with people and making sure that you're not so loyal to somebody that you're willing to hurt anyone else.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And 2 words to describe Derek: strong and brave.
Such an interesting conversation.
Oh, very. And to hear more about Derek's story, you can pick up The Klansman's Son wherever books are sold, or scan the QR code on your screen and catch the rest of our interview later this week on ABC News Live Weekend. It airs on various streaming services like the ABC News app and, of course, on abcnews.com.